You're back with Rock and Roll, and this is the last of the 4 episodes for, it's in their own words, it's a New Zealand All Blacks documentary after the World Cup, and it's just showing the emotions they went through and everything they recorded and so forth. And this has been really interesting to watch also. And in today's one, we're going to be reacting to the last episode. It's called More Than a Game. Let's get into it.
We know you're going to get the job done. But if you need to borrow something, you borrow the history of that journey.
We were all sitting in our rooms watching it like, man, are we supposed to be doing this?
You borrow the money. We are the storm.
We are the storm. I never saw this, funny enough, when I live in New Zealand. But yeah, that's again like, it was somewhere obviously on the socials, maybe Instagram or that stuff. I'm too old for all these things. But I mean, how phenomenal to get this kind of inspiration from back home for the All Blacks, and just reminding them who the All Blacks are. And we always knew that this was not going to be like a one-sided type game. It's the quarterfinals. I mean, whomever loses falls out, and we knew both of these teams sorely wanted this win.
You remember it?
Ireland have beaten the All Blacks in New Zealand for the very first time.
It's interesting that him saying there that Nagy, the most composed guy to me really, saying, I've been waiting forever for this, cutting back to that loss at home versus Ireland, and just showing the emotion that these guys have going into this quarter.
The feeling of losing in Dunedin and then in Wellington, you remember those feelings and how we feel like we've let New Zealand, we've let the jersey down.
We'd planned all year around how to try and stop Ireland as best we could. Irish were very confident, you could tell, but they had every right to be.
Ringrose tries to cut through and does. What a start! Exceptional rugby, it really is.
Now guys, I mean, that I recall back then, I mean, you just knew like the Irish was extremely confident, and you know, like they say, there's 17 games in a row. They were playing phenomenal rugby, don't get me wrong. You know, the way they got the ability to move the ball through their hands, they had pretty much beaten everyone before this World Cup, and they could have all the confidence in the world, and we knew they were going to go in with that. But the one thing, you know, I saw an interview with Eben Etzebeth where he mentioned them saying after they played them in the pool matches, Ireland, they were like, oh, see you in the finals, being so sure that they were going to make it to the finals. It's something that I think the Springboks and the All Blacks have learned. Never be too confident, because you never know. It doesn't matter in what good form you are. There is those games that you just can lose. And there's always going to come up. If you're going to come up against the big boys, the Springboks, the All Blacks, the French, England, you know, you never know. England, I don't know if I should put them in there. Maybe not. But I mean, the big teams, you never know who's going to win the game. You can't just bargain on being too overconfident, you know. And I think this was one of the things, you know, that was the case for the Irish. And I felt like that about the All Blacks at times when they were really good, winning all the World Cups, that they're overconfident that they go into games. But they always seem to produce for most of the times. Where the Irish come playoff games, we know they've not been the best in World Cups.
The All Blacks camp this evening, Mark Talia dropped.
It's weakening the side, but the team protocols are there for a reason.
This is one thing I know about All Blacks and their codes, and you know, just, you know, they stick to their rules. And obviously, yeah, not sticking to the curfew, Mamba as they call him, Mark Talia, being excluded in a quarterfinal. I personally felt, come on guys, this is not the time to try and make examples. But that is just All Black code. I mean, this could have really backfired on them.
And it's full of green.
They just sing all game, just make the atmosphere that much better to be a part of. I was all the way up in the stands, and all these Irish supporters around us are just giving it to us, and I was just like, holy.
The public was smart enough to know what the quarter-final was going to be about.
If we didn't get the job done, we're on the plane home.
Looking across at the opponent during the haka, you get memories, flashbacks. One of his chip and chases, got the bounce.
Pumps, squares up, bang.
Leicester find Ganuku. And New Zealand are in.
Having Leicester Fainungu there for Talia was still, it wasn't really that much of a step down. Although it's not for me personally, it's tough. It's two different type players. But Fainungu doing great in that final. And immediately the All Blacks first on the board. But I must say, I always knew the Irish just, after watching the game between the Springboks and the Irish, you don't just keep the Irish out of a game. You can go score first, but they will hit back.
Long ball to Bundyaki. Dummy steps. Bundyaki. Aki's in.
They got momentum, crowd got back into it. Then the test was really on.
And New Zealand go to work with the attacking game. Will Jordan. Rico Ioane. Ardie Savea.
At this point, it's just a try-fest of All Blacks. Now I'm going to make some people very mad. Well, I mean, it's maybe not an All Black, but it's a New Zealander. Bundyaki scores. I mean, phenomenal. Probably they're the best centre in the World Cup. I think we can all safely say that. Doesn't matter if you're from any other country. He was the best centre in that World Cup for me. Best performing in that World Cup. He goes to score. We see then Ardie Savea goes to in the corner, and this is now a big game. 18-10, the All Blacks ahead at this point.
Gibson Park arrives and he plays. Gibson Park dummies and goes. And he scores!
And another All Black score. No, sorry, I will stop. And another ex-New Zealander scores. Then now living in Ireland. Jamison Gibson Park goes through for a try. And phenomenal back and forth between Ireland and the All Blacks. And this turns out to be just as mammoth game as the last big one for Ireland and the Springboks.
It has swung this way and that.
They charged into the tunnel, I remember it. Their supporters are up. The challenge for us was just to regather.
Will Jordan's try happens, bang.
It just happened so fast that when I got the ball, I kind of showed to give it back to Jill. But as I showed the hooker off the back of the liner, he kind of just stopped for a split second.
And Richie Mo'unga for New Zealand. He's got Will Jordan with him.
Just kind of screaming him for him to give it, to be fair.
Will Jordan! Try New Zealand!
The ability of Richie Mo'unga to his show and go, you know. How quickly he can pick up, okay, hold on, here's an opportunity. If he just sees someone missing a tackle or someone not going for a tackle and him having an opportunity to the smallest of gaps, he'll go for it. And that's what he did in this case. I mean, a phenomenal, always, Will Jordan finishing off. Phenomenal, but that try, how was that not made by Mo'unga? What a try by him, a set-up try by Mo'unga there.
Some shift.
Well, the execution was pretty special. Very simple rugby, but designed for a reason.
Ireland go to the corner, and Johnny asks for support from the crowd. Tyburn brings it down, and here comes the green machine. It's a penalty try. And it's a yellow card as well for Cody Taylor.
Now, when Cody Taylor collapsed that rolling maul and it gave that penalty away, I was like, just not now. Why did you go give that away right at the end? Because I really wanted to see the All Blacks beat the Irish. It was 25-24, and we were like, where are we going with this now?
Yeah, we were facing a serious uphill battle in that final 15 minutes. It was just a matter of which side could hang on.
Geordie Barrett. Brilliant kick.
They got back straight into our half. We gave away a penalty, a kick for the corner.
Brings it down once again. Richie McCaw feeling the tension. Ireland.
Now, you know, this moment here was make or break for the Irish. if they scored from here, you always knew it was just going to be maybe just a step too far for the All Blacks to win this game. But this was a pivotal moment in the game.
Have halted it in its tracks, but the second shot for Ireland over the line, but no call.
Just a reaction, instinctive moment. I thought I should just try and get my body under it.
Geordie Barrett with the stop.
Truth is, if Geordie doesn't hold that up, we go home.
I mean, if Geordie, that's exactly it. If Geordie didn't keep him up, that would have been the end for them.
They like barbarians now, don't they, Ireland? Big tackle from Anton Leonard-Brown.
It was like there was no crowd and it was just us against them.
I mean, there was some crazy hits in this game. You could see some of these hits, it was coming from a deeper place. These guys really wanted to hurt each other.
Slip and to make an error.
With through 80 minutes, we're on the final play.
A slight hand, half a foot offside, someone off their feet, someone too keen to try and get a jackal. They kick corner, drive a maul, and we're toast.
Ireland needs something special, or they're going out of the Rugby World Cup at the quarter.
And I remember this because Ireland is very good at, you know, beyond the hooter, just being able to hold on to the ball, because they got an ability to just move it through the hands laterally, and they will just hold on to it, and they're disciplined to not concede. It is amazing. So I was like, hold on, this doesn't mean that Ireland couldn't pull back into this. If they get a penalty here, they could go for driving maul. And yeah. Now this is the thing. They say there are 30 phases for Ireland. The discipline in this Irish team was phenomenal. Them not making any knockouts, just working through phase for phase for phase, patiently waiting for something.
Extraordinary finish to this quarter-final. 35 phases. Sexton, Conan.
I mean, 35 phases, the amount of tackles that the All Blacks had taken. I mean, everyone had respect for just the defense that the All Blacks had shown at this point, and how hard and how badly they wanted it.
Kelleher again, he's hit hard by Retallick. New Zealand want the steal. Whitelock! Sam Whitelock!
And the old man does it. Whitelock turns that around over that ball and turn that vital ball around to basically secure a semi-final for the All Blacks. A phenomenal moment, and what a huge respect for Whitelock at that moment, making that last turnover.
The All Blacks are back in the World Cup picture.
Let's see what this meant for the All Black fans, you know, and it was a phenomenal moment, and just basically proving everyone wrong here. And I think this was one of the biggest moments for the All Blacks, and probably as much as that final was important for the All Blacks, this was a serious victory for them to beat the Irish in that quarterfinals.
Yeah, it was sweet.
It's the best team in the world, and we beat them.
It just happened to be, whistle went, and my two brothers are right there, so there's a moment that you'll cherish.
Oh, we did it.
Yeah, it was just a special win. Like, we were going through to a World Cup semi-final.
And a Sanya move there by Mo'unga. I mean, amazing. You could see the guys were really elated. And it's good to come off on the right side, I guess, for the All Blacks. Because, I mean, they really wanted this revenge for a long time.
The Stade de France welcomes Argentina and New Zealand to the World Cup semi-finals.
Look, we've played Argentina a lot in the last few years, and they've had success against us too. That's at the back of our minds.
See here that they don't make such a big thing, even though this is the semi-finals and not even the quarterfinals, against Argentina, a team that has beaten the All Blacks just a year or two ago, I think in the previous season. And the All Blacks, but you always knew that the All Blacks just knew Argentina really well, and they were in much better form than what they were the year or two before. So I think there was just much more of a confidence in this All Black team that there was no way that they're going to allow Argentina to beat them in the semi-final of a World Cup. And I also felt that, and that's exactly the way it went down.
Aaron Smith, the dummy. Aaron Smith still going. And he scores.
The plan was to keep it tight.
Work out for himself. Oh, look at that. The All Blacks will play in a record 5th World Cup final.
and really just the road to that final for them. After that win against Ireland, you kind of just known that the All Blacks was going to make it to the final. On the other side, for the Springboks, not as easy of a road going to the final. We know the Springboks had to play France in the quarters, and that was already a challenge on its own, being able to win France, beat France in France. And they did it with a 1-point margin. Then going into the semis, the Springboks was up against it again against England. I thought that would also be a pretty comfortable win for them, but in the end, not at all. The English knew of what type of game plan to come with a very similar kicking type game plan, especially old 2019 type rugby that the Springboks used to play, and they took the Springboks down to the wire. It actually looked like the Springboks was going to lose that semi, but in the end, the Springboks just pulling it again through of that 1 point. So the Springboks are quite a tough road to that final, and they were, really going down to the deepest of deep waters to make it to this final. Where I felt on the other side, the All Blacks had their challenges, but their semi, they really made it look pretty easy against Argentina. So coming from very different roads, not meaning one is better than the other, going into this World Cup for these two teams. But here we go, the final, the All Blacks versus the Springboks.
It's a red card for the captain, Sam Cane. Smith!
So no try.
Rhoda Barrett dives in for the All Blacks. And Geordie Barrett will have a chance to put New Zealand in front in this World Cup final with 7 minutes to go.
So guys, they cut right back to that final. Obviously where Geordie Barrett's got this important kick to the poles. Now, we know what happened, but let's keep watching.
That was my time to go up, point to the sticks and have a shot at goal, and it's just one of those moments where you just hope that you just luck out really and you have a pure strike.
Geordie Barrett to put the All Blacks in front.
Now he's saying they had a little opportunity. It was probably the one place there that, defined the game. But I mean, so easily you look at that ball, it was on its way to the right post, but could have easily just swung in a bit and then not to be.
And gone on to win the game.
Heading into that final scrum, do you remember it?
Yeah, the final two.
Tamati Williams talking about those last scrums, because I got to tell you, right at the end, the All Blacks was putting a lot of pressure in those last few scrums against the Springboks. And the Springboks really had to tough it out, because we know this was also, again, it came down to a 1-point game.
Catch up short and then aggressive second shunt.
New Zealand put the power on. We'll have a reset and get the ball off the field. Clock's in the red. De Klerk has it at the back. Power comes on from the All Blacks.
I call this was, guys, you got to imagine for a Springbok supporter going through a quarterfinals, a nail-biting, even in just the before the quarterfinals against the Irish, but then going through a quarterfinals where it's 1-point wins against the hosts, against England, and then in the final again, a 1-point. As a supporter, you were just like, at this point, right at the end, you're like, come on, Box. This is the last moment. And as much as you as an All Black supporter at this point say, please just get that turnover, you just like, come on, Springboks, you've come this far. Just don't lose it now.
Up short.
But it's over. It's over. It's a 4th Rugby World Cup for South Africa.
Now, guys, obviously for me, a very special moment to have experienced as a young man 4 World Cups being won by the Springboks right from 1995. Going through all 4 World Cups in my lifetime is really special. But, guys, one thing I got to tell you, it is extra special to have had like a 95 World Cup, against true warriors and probably our biggest nemesis and the team we have the most respect for. I can tell you now, as Springbok supporters, you can really ask them, and deep down they'll tell you there's this inner love between the Springboks and the All Blacks that they will never. It's something that it's almost like something you'll never admit, but there's definitely some deeper respect between these two teams. And I guess if you could choose a team to have a final against, it would always, you'd want it to be the All Blacks. And I'm glad it was the All Blacks, because there was such a hype made out of the Northern Hemisphere teams, and especially Ireland and France. And France because of them being hosts, but Ireland just because of their form. That having two Southern Hemisphere teams there in the finals, I couldn't have asked for it to be scripted better for me as a Springbok supporter, coming out on top. And boy, you know, the All Blacks will not forget this. These players will not forget it in the World Cups to come.
You know, you want to be humble in victory and humble in defeat. And so you give them the credit that they deserve and earned. Congrats, you know, you're world champs. And even though it hurts to say that, but it's just respect.
I really respect from All Blacks in general as well, that brotherhood and that code to say, well done, guys. You always see Adi Savia showing so much respect, and guys just going out there and saying, you guys, my brothers, we go on the field and we fight, but afterwards we'll have a beer and we'll say, well done if you won the game. But obviously the World Cup, a tough, bitter pill to swallow.
I do remember seeing a lot of our heads high, and there were tears, but they were tears from upright faces.
Until tonight.
There's just no noise, you know. Like you can hear everyone's thoughts.
See the Springboks celebrate, get that fourth World Cup, to be the first team to do it 4 times. But I think from an All Black perspective, what these guys also have to understand, that the Springboks have got a very special coach at the moment in Rassie Erasmus, and what he's done with this Springbok, you know, team, from where they were to where they are now. I don't know where the Springboks would have been without Rassie Erasmus. So it's also understanding that this was just, you know, as long as Rassie Erasmus is around, the Springboks will always be competition for the All Blacks, where they weren't towards the end of before Rassie started. In 2015, the Springboks was like something like 8th in the world, 7th or 8th in the world. They fell down, almost similar to what's happening to the Wallabies. And I don't know where the Springboks would have been. Rassie revived Springbok rugby. And I don't know if there's many coaches that could do that with all the challenges and the politics within South Africa. But that's what you got to remember, that the All Blacks, for me, will always constantly be up there. It's important to also understand we're living through an era for Springboks, which is an era, it's a very special era of Rassie Erasmus and what he had done with the Springbok team.
What could I have done better?
We were, you know, 1 kick away from winning.
It's just a real true heartbreak, and it was a real physical hurt.
I mean, like, that's the thing, is you're always going to feel after a game like Sam Cane feeling it's his fault. Everyone, Geordie will probably feel it's his fault. Guys, you can't put it on one player when the game is all over, but it's a game. And when it's over, the result is in, and it is what it is. And it's always, sometimes you're going to be on the winning side and sometimes you're going to be on the losing side. And all I can say is that you always look on to the next one, and there will be still amazing times to come within World Rugby for us to all have times to celebrate.
We've come through the last 4 years. I think it's been a unique period in our history with some of the challenges, and I'm extremely satisfied that we've left this black jersey in a good space.
Yeah, guys, and I mean, Foster finishing off there, you know, he can be pretty proud of what he's done with their team. They made it all the way to the final. And now we look forward to still amazing rugby. We go on. World Cup's over. We know Springboks going in as the champs again, but big things to come this year. Springboks playing Ireland. Ireland still on social media and everywhere want to say they're the actual champs, even though they didn't win the World Cup. So there's going to be some kind of revenge there to see, because they beat the Springboks in the World Cup and they feel they should be the champs. But that's what makes rugby. There's always going to be a team that wants revenge on a team, and I'm sure the All Blacks are also going to want their revenge. That's like boxing. That's like any sport. That's why we watch it. We want to watch these revenge games. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this. This was the last of the 4 reactions. If you did, please hit that subscribe button. Support me and give me a thumbs up. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.